Hey guys, so such an interesting video on Wild Rift. So we're back with a updated complete guide for Samira, and now of course we've recently, just like less than a month ago, of course done a complete guide on Samira when she released. But of course a lot of things have changed since then. Patch 3.4 has of course come, although that didn't really adjust her too much, as in it didn't really change anything with her build or her runes. The only thing that really changed is my thoughts on what she would build and what her runes should be. But of course she did get buffed in patch 3.4, so that of course is helpful for her. And my stance is still that she is a really strong champion, but it really depends on how good of opponents that you play against, because she has a lot of counters like Katarina being like CC. So in low elo, I actually think that she can be picked in like every match because people aren't gonna save your CC for you. But in like Master and above, people actually get better at saving CC to interrupt your ultimate, and even I do this when I play against Samira, so it becomes really hard to play Samira when like someone is saving their CC to interrupt your ultimate and you basically do no damage with your ultimate at all, which is of course your main form of damage. But whatever the case is, I still think that she's really strong, and today we're gonna go through her new build and her new runes. So of course, for the skills and leveling order, of course refer to the updated complete guide I did really recently. I'll put that up in the cards above. But yeah, let's jump straight into the build. So this is pretty much going to be her new build. I have replaced, basically the main change of the build is I've replaced Essence Reaver with Phantom Dancer. And the main reason why I've done that is because although Phantom Dancer does less damage, the shield is way more important, and although you don't actually really want the attack speed, the shield is just way more important than the damage, basically. So Essence Reaver is still a really viable option, and maybe you can go for it if you're really fed, but I don't recommend it even if you are really fed, because simply speaking, the shield is just more important, basically. So I did mention in my previous complete guide that I made that I only tested Slurry, Charge Blade, Storm Razor, and Phantom Dancer. So I'm just going to give a very brief summary of that. Charge Blade doesn't really work because you want to just combo all your spells then ult. You don't want to necessarily auto attack in between all of your spells, so you're wasting a lot of its power. Storm Razor does actually work as a first item, and you do have a stronger early game with Storm Razor, but personally I think that just going for like Bloodthirster as a first item is way better, and building Storm Razor anywhere else other than the first item basically wastes the power of Storm Razor as well. So this is the build that I've settled on. We first go for Bloodthirster for the injection of AD, crit, and of course main factor being the lifesteal, which does proc on her ultimate. So this will of course give you a ton of lifesteal. Basically it's same as the Draven build. Then you go for the Infinity Edge, which of course gives you even more AD, more crit, and more crit damage, of course giving you a large 2-item power spike. Then of course we go for the boots. For the boots, I actually like to go for defensive boots because you're generally going to be in and amongst the enemies very often, so I like to go for either armor boots or go for Merc Treads. And for the enchant, this is actually a really interesting one. Of course, you still have Stasis as a very viable option, but now more and more increasingly, I like actually taking Quicksilver enchant, because after it got the buff in a couple of patches ago actually, but after it got the buff, it now gives you like 1 second, not once, is it 1 second? 1.5 seconds, no, half a second of being unstoppable. So you can actually use Quicksilver during your ult to actually prevent people from being able to CC you in your ult, and that will prevent your ult from getting interrupted. So especially into teams with a lot of CC, I really like taking the Quicksilver enchant, which will actually help you by not letting the enemies interrupt your ultimate. Of course, the timing is really difficult. Generally, I just ult and press Quicksilver because I expect someone is going to actually try to interrupt my ultimate, and so that's what I generally do, but that is a very viable option. So next up, we go for the Phantom Dancer, and a Phantom Dancer, of course, as I mentioned, the attack speed isn't important. The movement speed and the crit is important though, and the most important part is the shield. So the shield, of course, gives you the shield when you are put below 35% health. This is mostly useful during your ultimate, where sometimes as you are life stealing through your ultimate, you are taking damage as well, and this shield can really help just basically save you, especially in your ultimate, but also in other scenarios when you are low health. Next up, we go for the penetration item, being the Seralda's Grudge. The best option for you is the Seralda's Grudge because the slow really helps you to stop people from escaping from your ultimate. However, unlike champions like Lucian and Ezreal, the Seralda's Grudge isn't really a must. You can actually go for the Molar Reminder if you do want if you do need that are the grievous wounds, especially against like Sorakas or like Namis, you want to go for that Mole Reminder early, and then you build the you want to go for the Executioner's Calling early, and eventually build into the Mole Reminder. Alright, so lastly, I like to go for the GA. Now, why do I not go for a 4th crit item like a lot of other ADCs? Well, because Samira is always in and amongst the enemy team, so you're gonna get focused a lot, and it's very likely you die even when you're fed. That's the whole deal about Samira. It's the same thing as like Katarina. Even if you're fed, you have to be in the middle of the enemy team to actually do damage. So you are likely gonna die. So I think that GA here gives a lot more value to Samira than a lot of other ADCs. Like for example, if I built a GA on a Caitlyn, I'm supposed to be safe anyway, so the GA is just a safety net, but it shouldn't be activated if I play correctly, so therefore it could be seen as a waste of gold. Whereas on Samira, even if I play well, it's still very likely to get activated, because I'm still really likely to just die when I'm in the middle of the enemy team, of course, because I'm squishy. So I think that it has a lot of value here. Now, if your GA is down or you don't want to actually get GA, then of course you can replace it with, of course, the Essence Reaver to have all 4 crit items. And another item you can actually get if you're against a lot of against a heavy magic damage comp is going to be the Maw of Malmortius, of course the Hex Drinker as well earlier on. But pretty much this is kind of going to be the standard build for Samira. Alright, so for the runes, the only thing that has really changed is Ultimate Shield, so we'll get into that real soon. But for the runes and spells, what we want is, of course, the Conqueror, which you will, of course, fully stack before you ult, because you have to attack 6 times before you can get your ult, same thing as the Conqueror. And this will, of course, give you bonus, a bit of bonus AD and a little bit of Omnivamp, which, of course, is what you really want, which is why Samira builds this as well. Then you of course go for Hunter Vampirism. As I said, you want the Vamp, so here you get Physical Vamp. Then you go for Ultimate Shield. And now the reason why you actually go for Ultimate Shield is when you ult, you're generally going to be you are going to be very close to the enemies. So this is going to of course help you absorb some damage initially. So this is always going to be helpful because people are always going to attack you when you are right next to them in your ultimate. So this will absorb some of the damage and help you survive longer. Combined with the Phantom Dancer, you should be able to be a lot tankier when you're in your ultimate. And lastly, of course, we go for the Hunter Genius, of course, just to get cooldowns up more often, particularly on your W, which has a really long cooldown. And lastly, for spells, there is also a discussion here. So Flash, of course, no discussion there. But here, there's a debate between Exhaust and Barrier. So the Barrier sort of ties into the whole, like, shielding during the ultimate thing. So you have the ultimate shield for the shield at the start. You have the Phantom Dancer for when you're low. And some people like to go for Barrier as well, to like basically just use Barrier whenever they need to, in order to just give themselves a third shield when they're in the ultimate. And I can't say that I disagree with that. So if you take Barrier, I wouldn't argue with you too much. But personally, I just prefer Exhaust, because I think Exhaust provides a lot of value, not just to yourself, but also to your team. Like if you're Exhaust and enemy Akali or enemy Katarina coming into your team, you're going to protect everybody and not just yourself. So I personally just prefer just taking Exhaust, because it helps, both me and my team, and it helps me as well. Like when I'm in my ult, you can exhaust someone when you're in your ult as well, so you can reduce damage coming toward you as well, which is roughly the same thing as what you want with the Barrier. Of course, just the Exhaust is single target, and Barrier blocks everybody who's attacking you. So that's pretty much it for the Samira items, runes, and spells discussion. Now we can move on to talking about the gameplay. Alright, so now moving on to the gameplay. As usual, I'm going to remind everybody, of course, to like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoyed the video. And, of course, also, to leave any questions, queries, or remarks down in the comments, and I will, of course, address them. And yeah, so here, we have with us a Rakan, and of course, but in this particular video, I am actually in a solo queue. So this is a stranger Rakan, but basically, Samira works really well with anyone who basically has like some form of knockups especially, but any other form of CC helps as well. So in this case, we have ourselves a Rakan, who of course does have that knockup and charm, so that's really helpful for us. And we're against a Soraka. So hopefully I do build the Executioner's Calling, but I don't remember if I do. If I don't, that's a mistake, and you should actually do that. But of course, I am not the best Samira player, so when I'm playing Samira, I'm heavily focused on playing her well, and I'm not so focused on building her well, which of course is not a good thing, but that is of course because I'm not really comfortable on Samira yet because she's still really new, unlike a lot of other ADCs. So here Rakan hits a knockout, we do get the extended CC duration onto the Soraka, and we basically half health her. It's not actually us that half health her, it's mostly Rakan because he did have Electrocute and he didn't proc it, so most of that damage was actually Rakan, but we did help to extend the knockup duration for him to get in the extra auto attack to proc the Electrocute, so that still basically got the job done. Alright, so here we have Nunu in the area flashing over all the way to actually go for the Soraka. Now here, I actually felt we should have turned onto the Vayne instead, but I guess a kill is a kill. Rakan tanks a tower shot and ends up dying because Vayne was so much behind the Soraka, and I exhausted the Vayne and I went on the Vayne, but my teammates went on the Soraka, so a little bit of a miscommunication there. But either way, you know, it works out. We end up getting the kill on Soraka. Although technically it's a 1-for-1 trade because Rakan died too, so maybe that was not the best in the world. Yeah, but yeah, I guess Soraka didn't have flash, so maybe going for Soraka was actually a good idea, whereas Vayne had both sums. So yeah, I guess that was fine. Anyways, okay, looks like I did not pick up the Executioner's Calling, so looks like I probably didn't do the right thing in this match. So I am actually building toward the Bloodthirster instead. So it looks like I didn't actually go for that Executioner's Calling rush in the early game, which I do end up doing in later matches, because I do remember doing that, just I don't remember if I did that in this match. Clearly not. But yeah, so here, against Soraka's alone, we get the increased knockup duration for Rakan, and a really nice silence by Soraka actually, so we cannot actually use our spells onto the Soraka. Vayne starts running us down. I go back in because I see Soraka really low, so I'm trying to ignore the Vayne and go onto Soraka. Here, the reason why I did this is because I know I was about to hit level 5, which I was, and I wanted to ult to get the ultimate shield and kill the Vayne as well. Now unfortunately, the moment I hit S rank was the moment that Vayne killed me, so that was really unlucky. But you know, now that we know Rengar was on the way down as well, the best case scenario there would have been we kill Soraka, we ult Vayne, we kill Vayne, and then Rengar kills us. So either way we would have died, just that we would have at least gotten the kill onto Vayne, which we did not of course manage to do. So that's a bummer. But yeah, so Vayne is getting pretty fed. She's 3-0 because she's been getting pretty much all the kills from her team, whereas we have not. We are 1-1-1, so pretty poor scoreline, at least in comparison to Vayne. But you know, we're still doing fine. And comparing the goal between me and Vayne, considering she has 2 kills more than me, it really isn't all that bad. So here we have Rakan waiting behind the wall, and of course you need to know what champions do. Of course most people know Rakan has a dash, so we want to of course let Rakan dash to us and then do that, which is like dash to the Vayne. Now unfortunately we step into the root. Here Rakan goes in with the ultimate, I pop my ultimate as well, and I exhaust the Vayne to make sure that he stays safe. And I am able to get the shutdown onto the Vayne. Now Soraka does pop the nullifying orb, and Akshan is coming in with the ultimate. So Rakan comes in with the knockup. She steps behind the turret to block the ultimate, but that basically she ends up CCing herself between the tower and the wall, and that allows me to actually pick up the kill, as well as pick up a plate. Now unfortunately, when Rakan went in, Rakan did tank another tower shot and die, but you know, hey, we trade 1-for-1 with the Soraka getting the kill on Rakan and me getting the kill on Soraka. That is definitely a worth it trade, and this has basically given me a huge injection of gold. As you guys can see, I'm 3-1-1 with 4.7k gold, whereas Vayne now has only 4k, so now I've actually taken the gold lead from the Vayne. As the Dragon and Herald are about to spawn, I hit it of course back to lane to quickly clear out this lane. Now, in my opinion, actually, I think Rakan taking Relic Shield is way better than Rakan taking Spectral Sickle, because Rakan doesn't really have a very good time like poking, because his Q range is really short, and he has to commit with his engage to get more poke than that. So here my team converging on both sides to the Dragon. Rakan flashes in with the ultimate. I use this opportunity to go in as well. I want to go onto the Vayne, and I am able to do that. I wait for her to condemn me before I ult. I ult and flash forward to get in range, and then I pretty much hit a blind Q to pick up the kill onto the Vayne. In the meantime, Nunu picks up a triple kill, so we got all 4 of them. And the only downside is that they actually got the Dragon, but I would trade 4 kills I would trade the Dragon for 4 kills, I mean. So I think that we still got up pretty good there. Now I'm 4-1-2. Only real thing to note that is important on that play is the fact that number one, I went for the Vayne, which is of course their Fed member, the one that we really want to kill, and of course number two, the fact that I waited for her to condemn before I ulted. So there was no point if I just ulted there right then and there, because Vayne has the point and click condemn. My ult would have been interrupted, and I would have done nothing. Maybe even die to her, who knows. So really you just gotta wait for the CC and then you ult. That is why Samira is one of the hardest ADCs to play, because it requires a lot of firstly knowledge, and secondly timing. So here anyway, we let Rakan jump over the wall to come over, and here we get the S rank again, get the kill on Soraka, dash in onto the Vayne, get the kill onto the Vayne, dash out using the minion back out of tower range. So I'm gonna break down that play really quick, really soon. But first up, I'm gonna finish my point on yeah, Samira is really hard to play. You first have to know all the enemies, like which enemies have what CCs, which shouldn't really be a challenge for most people if you play long enough. But then the harder part is to track the cooldown, like whether has the Pantheon used his stun, has Xin Zhao used the ult, has Vayne used the condemn, has Set used his phase breaker, all that kind of thing. So timing the CC is really important, or if not, you have to get into a place where, for example, you're far away from the Set and he can't actually interrupt your ult with his E. So that is really the challenge of Samira. So just now, what the play that I did there was Rakan was behind the wall again. So of course I know Rakan can dash over to engage. So I stepped near onto the other side of the wall, allowing him to jump over and then come in with his grand entrance, which he of course did whiff, but he did hit the ult after that, which allowed me to of course come in, dash in, and then basically activate the full combo with the ultimate. Of course dashing in on the Soraka with the ultimate, getting the reset, and then I dash in onto the Vayne to kill her under tower, and then I get the reset on the E to use it on the minion to dash back out of the tower. So that's pretty much what we did. If you guys are confused as to what I'm talking about, you can just always watch the play again, like fast forward maybe 30 seconds or so. But here, Rengar picks up a double kill in the top lane, and Herald does manage to actually crash. Our Herald does actually manage to crash, so that is a good thing. And in the meantime, that is going to cause a distraction for the enemy team, which is going to allow us to actually focus the mid lane tower, although we can't really do too much to the mid lane tower here. But all we can really do is just back off. So here I have my two items already. I have the Infinity Edge and I have the Bloodthirster, so it's a good time for me to take red buff, especially since my jungle is a Nunu who doesn't really make very good use of the red buff. So I'm just going to pick up the red buff right here. And since I'm in the area, I'm going to farm the Raptors as well. Nunu's just over there farming his blue buff. No big deal. And we're going to have to hit over to the bottom lane. I don't know why I'm waffling around here, but I'm going to have to hit over to the bottom lane to actually protect this tower against the Akali. We don't want to give them a free tower for no good reason, but of course Akali is an assassin who can very easily kill me, so I have to be really cautious. Which is why I actually warded over there to see if she will be coming, and yeah, she is over there. So I am pinging the team that she is going up, and there she is. She has gone up to the mid lane. Of course, I'm slower than her because I do have to clear the wave, so I don't really quite have the priority. And the enemy team picks up a number of kills, leaving basically only me and Garen left alive. And Garen looks like he's in trouble as well, so probably he's about to die here. There he goes. So yeah, but my team ends up making some questionable decisions and basically ends up all dying, which is really not good. Gives the enemy team a whole ton of gold. And yeah, so the important part here is that after I realized that the fight was lost, I didn't actually want to go in. Now, as Samira especially, it's a lot like those like go in and int champions like Yasuo. Like you really always want to go in because you always can. Full combo in like a second or so, and then you activate ult and destroy everybody. Now if you're incredibly fed, that still wouldn't work, because if the enemy team has CC, you're gonna still get destroyed. But assuming that they use all their cooldowns, that isn't always a bad idea. I actually got a pentakill from cleanups like twice on Samira. So here Akali goes in on Akshan and ends up basically full comboing the Akshan. And yeah, not too much to say about that. That could have easily been me, but it was not. Here I see Rengar jumping in, I instantly stasis before he actually lands, and I flash away. So I didn't actually take a single point of damage there, but the Rengar ultimate did force me to flash and to stasis. So for this next upcoming dragon fight, which is like right now basically, I basically have no way to really do much without my flash and without my stasis. So here I'm just trying to stay safe in the back line. I say that, but here I'm going in. as you guys can see now, the Soraka silence really hurt me there. I think I would have actually gotten more kills here if the Soraka silence wasn't actually on the ground and I was able to actually get more into range. So here I am still able to get the ult. I Q through, not Q through, E through the tower. In case you guys didn't know, the E works on towers as well. I E through the tower to try to reach the Gragas, but I don't actually quite manage to do that. So I'm here, I'm just checking enemy jungle to see what can be taken, because obviously Gragas is gonna be backing. So here the enemy Krugs are up, so I'll just take that. You know, better to deny some jungle than no jungle at all. So I'm just gonna quickly just pick up the jungle and then pick up this top wave as well. Now Rift Herald is up, and of course I've used the Krugs and the Rift Herald, not Rift Herald, I used the Krugs and the minions to actually lifesteal back up to pretty much full health because of the Bloodthirster. And here now my team are on the Krugs, the enemy team is coming in, and Rengar, unfortunately for him, just jumps straight on in and pretty much just dies. Although he did nearly one-shot me, but thankfully that was not the case, because Stasis was not yet back up. So now I'm 9-1-4, really fed. I'm just waiting for an opportunity to, of course, go in. You never want to be the one going in first. You want to wait for your team to go in, like Nunu or Rakan, and then I can, of course, follow up. Picking up multiple fruits, of course. So here I'm just trying to stay far away, because I don't want to get condemned into the wall if the Vayne happened to be there. She was not actually there, but yeah, so here I'm going in. I have the ultimate, but look at it. That's what happens when they're CC. So here it looked like a really good fight. If I got up that ult, I think I would have gotten a multi-kill at least. Probably not a pentakill, but I think I would have gotten a double or triple, even if I did die there. But you see, the moment I activate my ult, I get body slammed by Gragas. So I end up doing 0 damage with my ultimate, and I end up just instantly dying. So as you guys can see, I was super fed. I was 9-1-5. And that instantly just killed me. So that is pretty much just Samira's weakness, is CC. Now, of course, everybody's weakness is CC, but it's even more so from Samira, because her damage comes from her ultimate, and if she gets CC'd, her ultimate gets interrupted. Now, this is actually unlike Katarina, because Katarina's main damage is not from her ultimate, it's from her passive and from her E. So it's not as bad for her. Of course, it's really bad to get CC'd, but it's even worse for Samira, is what I'm trying to say. But regardless, we're back up, and we now have our Stasis and Flash back up and available. We have the triple crit items already, including the Phantom Dancer, which is going to help with our survivability. And yeah, we're just going to quickly clear out the wave, just clear a jungle, pick up farm wherever we can, and we're going to after group up with our team. I've basically taken the entire bot side jungle at this point from the Nunu, but yeah. So here I believe I have an item purchase, which is why I am going back. Yep. Oh, I finally get the Executioner's Calling actually. So I don't actually end up going for the Sorrel's Grudge, but I finally end up picking up the Executioner's Calling like 14 minutes into the match, way too late. But yeah, Soraka is finally becoming a problem, and you know, we're finally gonna actually pick up the Executioner's Calling to kind of counter what the Soraka wants to do. And speaking of which, we spot her out in the river, and she's all alone. Rakan Proto Belt Flash, Proto Belt Alt, sorry, to catch out the Soraka, and we get a free pick onto the Soraka. And in the meantime, our team actually is gonna pick on the Akali as well. So this basically gives us Baron, because they have 2 people down. Of course, a steal is possible, but in the meantime, we use the Herald to distract the Vayne from coming to the fight here. And the enemy team, I think, doesn't actually realize it until they cast that Redemption. But we already get the Baron, and of course, Redemption can no longer deal damage, so it cannot actually steal the Baron anymore. So here I'm back, I pick up the Last Whisper as well. Now I'm 10-2-5, really fed, 14k gold. No one is really even close, actually. The next closest guy is at like 11k something. No one is even at 12k. So of course, really fed. We're carrying, and we don't want to really mess this up. So we want to, of course, be really careful. Not that we didn't want to in otherwise as well. Because of course, even if you're feeding, you still want to be careful. You still want to play, you know, as you would. Alright, so here the next dragon is of course going to come up with, which is the Ocean Dragon. And I think that I'm significantly ahead enough, but my team is not. Really, the goal difference between the enemy team and my team is just me. So I, of course, do really want to be careful about that. And we're just going to quickly fall back onto the Ocean Dragon and try to rush it. Now, Garen is actually creating a point of pressure in the top lane with his split push. He does have the Hull Breaker, and they cannot simply just ignore him. So the enemy team has to either respond to the Garen or has to respond to this Dragon. We do actually end up picking up the Dragon uncontested, and Garen manages to recall with the help of the Baron buff, of course, and the enemy team basically ends up getting nothing much. They did stop Garen's split push and save their tower, but they had to give up an Ocean Dragon for that. So yeah, enemy team has had the previous 2 dragons, so it's really important we get this one, because them having triple dragon would be a really big problem for me and my team, of course. So here we see Vayne trying to go in, but here, if you guys notice, I'm pinging enemy missing on near the Raptor area, because that's where Akali is. But regardless, really nice engage by the Rakan, gives me a free double just by going in and pretty much just smacking my buttons at this point. Don't even need to play that really well. So here I flash over, auto the Akali for the kill. I'm tanking the tower, and that was pretty much the Phantom Dancer shield, just blocking all of the damage from one tower shot right there. So it did help me out quite significantly in getting out of the tower range. So here we have another minion wave coming in from the Garen split push, so we're gonna just take the 2 inhibs. And honestly, at this point, only Gragas and Rengar are left. Rengar looks like, I think he's AFK at this point, and we can basically just go for the base. Of course, we're not going to do that. We're going to go for the Gragas first, then we're going to go for the base. So here we have the victory on Samira. Pretty good carry performance from us. Of course, we did have that one death where it showed you why Samira is so weak to CC, which I think is a really good example. But anyways, guys, I'll leave you guys with the stats as usual. So thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.